Speakers commended Namibia for having ratified a number of international conventions aimed at preserving and protecting the rights of individuals as well as various minority groups in the country. Dowsett maintained that Namibia ratified and signed 7 conventions on Universal Declaration on Human Rights. These include the abolition of hate speech, parental responsibility to their children, and all other forms of discriminations towards minority groups.
Some of the benefits of having a tracking system such as that one is it strengthens state capacity and commitment to follow up and monitor the implementation, fulfillment, and promotion of human rights in the country. There's also a periodic update of the information in the various reports. You have opportunity to evaluate, to review, and also develop legislation and policy that responds to specific human rights issues.
They also revealed that her ministry plans to reform all outdated laws, including those discriminating against albinism, those with disability, and gender-based violence, amongst others. This assertion is, however, questionable in some quarters, especially in terms of parity.
The key issues that were raised in our report looked at the punitive laws, but also broadly to constitutional recognition in this country. There has never been, except in today's newspaper that we see in the new era, there's no precedent that has ever publicly recognized the existence and the need for protection of the LGBTI people in the country.
On her part, human rights expert Professor Lucy Jaho said, despite many legal instruments the government introduced, women representation at regional and local authority levels is still far below the target.
The question for me is whether it's time for law reform, to reform the Electoral Act, and to actually legislate quotas rather than to rely on voluntary quotas.
A human rights expert, Dr. John Nakuta, complained about the scourge of housing inadequacy, legacy of land dispossession, and poverty, which he says still poses a threat to Namibia's ambition to attaining the required level of equity.
How do we justify people staying in situations as reflected on the screen, and yet our Constitution in Article 8 talks about human dignity? It is undignified for a woman, for a girl, for an old man to sit tonight in the shack and use, and when nature calls, use a plastic bag to help him or herself, and tomorrow throw that into the nearest riverbed, what they call flying toilet. That is inhuman.
Jeff Tachihomino, NBC News, Windhoek.